everyone, my name is Chloe, and today I'm here to do the Fall Into Reading Challenge wrap-up. So I did not advertise that I was doing this Fall Into Reading Challenge because the board was something that I was not sure I was going to hit all of them, and I just wanted to kind of let my reading fall and see if it did. So if you don't know what this is a bingo board setup. It's a 3-month, September, October, and November challenge put forth by Cozy Reader Kelly, Rainey from Rainy Day Reads, and Angie from Literary Labor. So I will link it down below. I will link all of them down below. But they've done this for quite a few years, and this year was very broad, but also like the goal was to kind of get you outside of your reading box. And so I guess I didn't want to do a specific TBR because they were so broad, but I wanted to see just be mindful of it and see if my reading could fit into it. So now here it is, middle of November, and I think I've done it, guys. I think I've done it. So let's just go into the challenges or the prompt. So a fantasy. I read Mirror Magic, which is Starfriends book number 1 by Linda Chapman. So this is a middle grade series about this little girl who sees this wolf, I think, with indigo eyes, and she's like, something is different about this wolf. And she realizes that they are star friends, which are like these magical friends that then can go on adventures and do exceptional things together. And the first book was not that great just because it was really just setting the world, setting the scene, giving us like kind of how this is all going to work. They didn't do like any adventures, but I think they will in subsequent books. So I think we'll probably continue in that. And I don't know, you guys that read more, tell me more about what's the difference between sci-fi, fantasy, and magical realism. I'm sure I could ask my husband because he's a sci-fi fantasy movie and show nerd, but let me know your thoughts. What's the difference? And we'll see as we get down this list. I don't know if I did it right, but I hope so. So fantasy was that Mirror Magic Starfriends book number 1. Next is Orange on the Cover, which I'm shocked. I'm not a huge seasonal reader, so I have not read a ton of things that have super autumnal covers. But I was shocked. I don't see hardly any orange on covers. But I'm going to say The Little Sister by Isabel Ashdown. The title of it is like an orangish yellow. So this one is a thriller about 2 sisters that were really, really close, really great personality complements, and then they became estranged, and now they're back in each other's lives. One is nannying for the other's kid, and the kid goes missing, and so it's the relationship between sisters. Like I said, it's a thriller, so it's some convoluted stuff, some sinister stuff going on. It was all right. It was about 3.5 stars for me. Next is a mystery thriller. So you guys know this is one of my favorite genres. So I read quite a few in September, October, and November. This is also 'tis the season for thrillers. If I'm going to read seasonally, it's just because my mood, I like thrillers more in the fall. I don't know why, but so I'll just say Where the Children by Mary Kay Andrews. This is one of my favorites, or just one of the most unique thrillers that I've read just because of the fact that it is Mary Kay Andrews. Not Mary Kay Andrews, you guys. Mary Higgins Clark. Mary Higgins Clark's it was her first novel. So if you guys don't know who Mary Higgins Clark is, she is one of the OGs. I am in love with her just because I remember my grandmother reading a lot of her. And this was, I didn't know it was her first book, but it is her first book. And it was written in 1975. And it is really short. And it's about this woman who, her 2 children were kidnapped and killed, and we're not sure, did she play a part in it? We don't really know. Now it's years later. There was not enough evidence to convict her of anything, so she's married, has 2 more kids with somebody else, and they go missing, and it kind of looks to be a similar situation. So I really enjoyed the premise of the book. I would just say it's a little too short. There were some things that weren't kind of played out the way, developed the way that I needed them to be, but it was a good one. I love Mary Higgins Clark, and will continue to love her. Next is a historical fiction. So I also feel like fall is for historical fiction. It's not my favorite, but I do feel like it's kind of cozy and kind of with school starting and stuff, this is the time to learn things, and historical fiction often teaches me things. Maybe it's that. I have no idea. I'm trying to justify why I think it is. But the Lindbergh Nanny was probably my favorite. I just read that recently. It is a new release, and it is about Charles Lindbergh. He's a famous pilot from the 30s, I think, And he and his wife were both pilots, and their young son, 18 months old, 20 months old, something, went missing in real life and was killed. And so we know what happened, we think, like as far as I think somebody was convicted, but we don't, like, there's some speculation on who all was involved. And so this book is fiction. It is not fact. And the author talks a lot about like the amount of research she did, but how this is still a blend of fact and fiction. Don't take this as a nonfiction. And it's told from the perspective of the nanny. So it's one opinion about what really happened and what the nanny's role was in that. So definitely recommend. Next is a classic. So I don't really love reading classics. I can tell you that. I don't love reading classics. But I'm calling this a classic. My daughter and I have been reading the Babysitter's Club Little Sisters books, and they were written in the late 80s, early 90s. And I mean, now that's 30 years ago. I laugh because I was born in 89. So it was over 30 years ago. I'm calling it a classic. It, like the Babysitter's Club, you guys know, has had this huge resurgence. And so it's stood the test of time. It's a classic. I'm calling it a classic. Next is a short story. So I read The Christmas Box by Richard Paul Evans, and this is a short story about Christmas, and it's just a reflection, like a kind of a story about God's love for us told through a parent's love for their child. So good Christmassy story. Next is a contemporary. So you guys, I love a lot of contemporaries too. So you could pick any that I read, but I'll say The Hotel Nantucket by Elin Hildebrand. This is about a hotel that has kind of a bad rap. People think maybe it's haunted. You don't really know. It's just kind of gotten a bad rap until somebody new buys it, and he is determined to get this 5-star rating. And so it follows all of the staff as they are trying to like turn this into a fun, upscale, kind of unique hotel. And I liked it. There wasn't a whole lot of point to the story except that he was trying to earn these 5 stars. It was more just getting to know all of the staff. And I feel like if you go in with that expectation, you'll probably enjoy it even more than I did. Next is Leaves on the Cover. So again, I don't read a ton of like autumnally cover books, I'm finding out, but I read When We Were Young by Jaclyn Goldis. So this is not fall leaves, but it is leaves. And this is a multi-generational story about 3 women and the mom, daughter, grandma. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. There's a lot that goes on, family drama, but it's a mostly contemporary women's fiction. Next is romance. So I have been in a romance funk lately where I just haven't been in the mood for it, but I'm still picking them up because if it's got the right trope and if it's got like characters I like, I'm still enjoying it. So I read Under the Southern Sky by Kristy, Woodson, Harvey. So this is about 2 people who have been married and have gone through their own stories with their spouses or whatever, and now they are forming a friendship, and our main female character decides to do something to help Parker is the name of the guy, and his wife, and there's some weird like relationship stuff that goes on, a lot of past, a lot of present. I really like it. It was definitely a deeper romance, and so I enjoyed it for the most part. I think it was a 3.5. Next is Autumn Vibes, and so I'm going to say Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney, and stay with me on this. So this is a like dark mystery thriller, which I feel like a lot of us really like those in the fall, and it takes place over Halloween. So the whole family is kind of estranged. They go to this island to their grandmother's house for her 80th birthday, which is on Halloween, and there's some mystery. There's some they start dying one by one. So it's a play off of and then There Were None by Agatha Christie, and there's just a lot of like really good kind of Halloween-y vibes, which is in autumn. So counting it as autumnal vibes. Next is nonfiction. So I've read a handful of those. I'm actually like in a spurt of reading them right now for, I guess, Nonfiction November and for a Libro FM reading blog that I'm in the middle of. So stay tuned for that. But I listened to Have I Told You This Already by Lauren Graham, and I love Lauren Graham. If you guys don't know, she is the mom from Gilmore Girls, and I just find her like funny and relatable at times. Like, I'm very type A, and I think she's very type B, but otherwise, like the extrovertedness and like, have I told you this already? I say that all the time, or say some version of that all the time, because I just love to talk and tell stories and talk to people clearly as I'm sitting here rambling. And so I liked it. This one is more about her like acting career in general, and just like making the move from New York to LA, and kind of all the ins and outs of that. So it like subject matter, not anything that is really intriguing to me, but I like listening to her read her own story, and I just like her. And then next is science fiction. So I read Tilly and the Book Wonders by Anna James. So this is the first in a middle grade series about book wonders. So I think like time travel and that kind of stuff is science fiction regardless. But like, this is where I'm like, what's sci-fi, what's fantasy? I don't know. But this is about a girl named Tilly. Matilda is her name. And she discovers that she like is seeing characters come into her family's bookstore. And then she is able to go into stories. And so it's really interesting about, and like time kind of stops while she's in a story, or time goes very slow at least while she's in a story. So in this book specifically, there's a lot of talk of Anne of Green Gables and Alice in Wonderland. So if you are a huge fan of either of those, I would definitely say pick this up. I really enjoyed the series. In fact, I asked for the whole series for Christmas because I read the first one from the library and would love to read more. So it's got short chapters, it's middle grade, and it's a really cool bookish like ode to book lovers. I loved it. So that is what I did for the fall into reading challenge. So I think I nailed it. I don't know. Some of them are kind of a stretch, but those are my thoughts. Let me know if you've read any of these books. Let me know if you participated in the challenge. Again, make sure you check out the 3 hosts below. They're all wonderful ladies. Love them all. And so I really wanted to participate in this challenge. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.